The courthouse is like something from a dream. Glossy wood floors shine with the light from the high windows, casting long, thin shadows through the room. The air has the sweet scent of old paper and cleaner polish but is filled with something else. Tension. The tension that rests upon your shoulders, bearing down on your chest, making every breath feel cautious and considered. Kody's at the defense table, drumming an unnatural rhythm on the armrest with his fingers. His body's tense, his eyes roaming the courtroom, attempting to appear nonchalant, but there's a small twitch at the edge of his mouth, a giveaway that deep within his mind's in overdrive. Robyn sitting next to him, normally collected, ever poised, but today her hands are folded tightly in her lap. Her knuckles are white from holding on so tightly, and every few seconds she opens her fingers only to clench them again. Her eyes are wide, nervously darting back and forth between Kody, the judge, and Meri. Christine is seated further down, arms crossed, jaw clenched, lips pursed into a thin line, an unmistakable combination of frustration and worry. Janelle sits next to her, folded hands politely, but even she can't conceal the slight shake of her fingers. In the distance, the gallery is filled with onlookers. Friends, relatives, and the occasional TV news crew, all holding their collective breath in silence. The bailiff summons the court, the clinking of metal on wood ringing out across the room. The judge is a pinched, hard-eyed man with an even harder demeanor, and he leans forward. "We are here to go over evidence submitted by the plaintiff. Go ahead." His voice is deep and uninflected, and it has an authority that instantly commands everyone's attention. Meri stands up. She tugs at her sleeve nervously, but there is a silent resolve to her actions. Her breathing freezes only for an instant as she takes a step forward. "Your Honor," she starts, her voice slightly trembling, "I have evidence that needs to be heard today. Evidence that has been hidden away too long, and it can no longer stay buried." The room goes silent. Every eye is on her. The camera crews snap pictures. A quiet flash illuminates the tense faces. Kody's jaw tightens, the calm facade he's carefully maintained for months beginning to crack. Christine leans slightly forward, her eyes narrowing, sensing the danger in Meri's words. Janelle bites her lip, her gaze flitting nervously between Meri and Kody. Robyn's fingers clench again, almost unconsciously. Meri dips into the tattered leather binder she has lugged around for months, its edges worn from being overused. She pulls out a pile of documents, DNA reports, which are carefully categorized, each page labeled with care. "These reports," she tells the judge firmly, "establish facts that can no longer be denied." She passes the documents along to the clerk, who takes them with measured motions and forwards them to the judge. The judge pauses, reading the papers intently. The silence becomes nearly painful. Each beat of every heartbeat in the room is felt, reverberating off the glossed wood. Kody leans forward, tension emanating from him like a force. Robyn's mouth opens a fraction, a tiny gasp escaping. Christine lets out a sharp breath, the sound like a delicate lash across the courtroom. Even Janelle, the normally reserved observer, appears on edge, wide-eyed as the first shards of truth fall into place. The clerk speaks the outcomes aloud. Each sentence crashes like a hammer, ringing out across the room, leaving no room for denial. Murmurs spread through the gallery, some loud, some hushed. Kody stiffens, his knuckles turning white as he tightens his grip on the table edge. Robyn's eyes brim over, a single tear sliding down her cheek. Christine's fingers tap out a staccato beat on the table, revealing frustration and incredulity. The judge inclines forward, lips pursed, eyebrows drawn together, obviously working through the seriousness of what he has just heard. Meri breathes deeply, collecting her wits. These papers tell lies, concealed truths, and clandestine decisions. Decisions that impacted every single one of this family's members. It's time to confront them in the open, no excuses or evasions. She starts reporting events with meticulous attention to detail, with each revelation more devastating than the last. She tells of secret conversations Kody had with Robyn that were never revealed, moments of clandestine behavior that ran counter to all that was laid out publicly. She mentions timelines, contradictions, and inconsistencies. Each word she utters hits with exactitude, like a scalpel-piercing well-designed facades. Kody puts his mouth open as if to cut in, but the judge holds up a hand and he is stopped cold. "Let her go on," the judge demands. His voice is authoritative and there is no question of arguing. The courtroom holds its breath, waiting as Meri goes on. Christine rocks slightly in her chair, clenching her jaw as internal turmoil wars with the outward appearance of calm. Unshed tears stand in Janelle's eyes, and she reflects the pale sun through the windows. Robyn sits tight-lipped, hands shaking minutely as she struggles to hold herself in check. Meri's narrative weaves through the timeline of events, highlighting the betrayals, the hidden alliances, and the moments of quiet manipulation. She doesn't yell or scream, she doesn't embellish. Her delivery is calm, almost eerily so, but the weight of her words is suffocating. Each revelation feels like a blow striking at the core of relationships built over decades. The judge slowly nods, taking notes, raising an eyebrow at times as new revelations come forward. The courtroom is still tense, thick with emotion, anticipation, and the merest touch of fear. Kody fidgets involuntarily, failing to sustain the cover of control. Robyn's hands tremble involuntarily as she clasps them in her lap. Christine breathes sharply, a combination of anger and shock. Janelle sits frozen, eyes darting between her family members, trying to reconcile what she is hearing with the family she knew. Meri stops, allowing the full impact of her words to sink in. She fixes her eyes on Kody, her look firm, unyielding. "No more lies," she says gently but firmly. "It's time for the truth." The gallery holds its collective breath. The air is thick with tension. The audience leans forward, mouths moving silently but with electricity as if charged with static. All the people present in the courtroom sense the weight of the moment. Kody utters a low, near whisper. "This isn't over, not by a long shot." The sentence lingers in the air, a cold promise and threat of future conflict. The judge orders a brief recess. The gavel strikes the wood with a loud echo, shattering the spell for an instant. But everyone is aware that the storm has only just been unleashed. Alliances are volatile, trust is broken, and the next stage of the trial is likely to be more emotionally draining and devastating. When the crowd stirs, murmurs traveling like wildfire, Meri leans back in her chair, relief mixed with anxiety coursing through her. She is sure this is just the start. The truth has been exposed, but the repercussions will push the family to its limits in ways no one can imagine. The courtroom, now abuzz with gossip, speculation, and tension, seems to stir with life, waiting for the next revelation. The first session concludes with an unwritten agreement. Nothing will ever be the same again. Each look, each movement, each utterance in future sessions will be measured against the revelations that have been discovered. And for Kody, Robyn, Christine, Janelle, and Meri, the trial has merely started. Cliffhanger. Meri has revealed the first layer of the truth, but beneath it are even greater secrets, secrets that can ruin the family all over again. When the courtroom opens again, drama will intensify, feelings will boil over, and all of the secrets will be at stake. The courtroom resumes after the short recess, but the atmosphere is anything but tranquil. The shiny wood floor seems to be closing in, weighted with tension. Kody sits rigidly at the defense table, hands clasped around the edge, knuckles pale. Robyn's hands continue to shake, but now she plays with the seam of her sleeve, twisting it back and forth in tiny, anxious movements. Christine leans forward on her chair, eyes intense on Kody, with a silent accusation in each look. Janelle's eyes exchange between the two, lips set tight in disbelief fear. The gallery is filled with low mutterings, with each whisper heavy with anticipation. Each person understands that the coming seconds will determine how the whole narrative pans out. The judge brings the session into order, the gavel ringing out sharply across the courtroom. "We will now hear the rest of the plaintiff's testimony. Please go on." His tone is soothing, but every sentence vibrates with power, cutting through the tense air. Meri slowly stands up, her back straight, her arms folded in front of her. She sweeps her eyes around the room, her gaze meeting each of the family members for a moment, a flash of steely resolve in her eyes. "Your Honor, there's more that must be said. The truth cannot be fragmented. It must be whole, and it must be heard in its entirety." Robyn shifts restlessly, eyes shining with unshed tears. "Meri, please." She whispers, voice little more than a sigh, almost begging. But Meri's concentration never wavers, her voice firm, her determination unshaken. Christine jerks forward, her voice slicing. "You've already thrown enough disruption into this family. Do we have to go further? But Meri takes no notice of the sting, going on in a cool, unhurried precision that leaves the courtroom on the edge of every sentence. Retention booster. If you believe that the drama is at its high point, wait until you see it coming. What is next will astonish even die-hard fans and leave you doubting every relationship within this family. Meri spreads a new batch of documents, pictures, and messages, proof that goes head-to-head against what Kody said before and what Robyn has been claiming. She starts to tell the order of things with precision, pointing out inconsistencies and hidden facts for so long. These messages were never made public, she says, voice steady but calm. And yet they point to actions and choices that are contrary to everything we were told. The gallery breathes softly in unison as she reads aloud passages of dialogue, betrayals, and unspoken realities that had been cleverly hidden. Kody shifts in his seat uncomfortably, his face blanching slightly as he attempts to keep his composure. Robyn's hands shake in her lap, her lips compressed tightly, fighting hard to suppress the emotion that is perched on the verge of overflowing. Christine's eyes narrow, fingers drumming impatiently against the table, as Janelle's eyes falter, lost in the maelstrom of feelings the revelations are evoking. The judge sits tight-lipped, furrowed eyebrows and pursed lips. The courtroom drops into somber hush as the seriousness of the new evidence dawns. Each disclosure cuts more viciously than the one before, and each hushed remark in the gallery ratchets up the tension. The family's tenuous balance is already starting to collapse, and no one knows what will shatter first, their bonds, their dignity, or the truth. Meri then shifts the focus to Kody, her voice steady but laced with quiet intensity. Your Honor, it's essential to understand that these decisions weren't made in isolation. They affected every member of this family. And yet some were left completely in the dark. That is the crux of the matter here. She pauses, letting her words resonate, scanning the room to gauge the reactions. Kody leans back in his chair, attempting to appear calm, but the spasm in his eye betrays the turmoil seething within. Robyn tightens her hands together, her fingernails piercing her palms as tears finally break through, tracking down her cheeks. Christine takes a sharp breath, her head shaking with incredulity. Janelle is frozen in place, her fingers held against her lips as she tries to comprehend the revelations unfolding around her. Then there is the time the gallery and the whole family had been fearing. Meri provides a sequence of taped conversations that reveal duplicity, secret loyalties, and manipulations held in abeyance for years. Tense in the courtroom, every ear is strained to hear every phrase. Robyn gasps loudly, the sound shattering the tenuous quiet. Kody's face sets, his jaw hardening as he listens, unable to provide contradiction in the face of irrefutable fact. Christine's eyes blaze with fury, and Janelle's hand jumps to her mouth in shock. Meri describes the emotional toll of these covert realities on the family, telling how the children were impacted, how trust was lost, and how secrets added up to tension that had been quietly brewing for so long. Every word is deliberate, each sentence bearing emotional weight. Her narrative glides effortlessly between factual reportage and introspection, conjuring vivid descriptions of heartbreak, fear, and betrayal. The judge listens intently, sometimes fiddling with glasses, obviously taking in the seriousness of things. The courtroom seems smaller now, as if the walls are themselves closing in with the pressure. Kody fidgets, tapping his foot against the floor, his eyes darting about in nervousness. Robyn dabs at her tears with a tissue, breathing erratically. Christine's fists are clenched onto her lap, and Janelle's lips quiver as she whispers to herself softly. Meri's tone softens briefly as she addresses the emotional devastation, then rises again, more assertive. Your Honor, this is not just about evidence. It's about accountability, honesty, and facing the consequences of one's actions. The family has been pushed to the brink, and it is time for clarity, resolution, and truth. The courtroom is still charged, every whisper, every cough, every movement magnified in the tension of expectation. The news media cameras have their eye on every reaction, and the audience leans forward in their seats, not willing to miss anything. Every disclosure, every hesitation, every look ratchets up the tension. The tension bursts in an instant. Christine leaps to her feet, pointing a finger at Kody. How could you do this to us? To the children? To all of us? Her voice shakes with anger, heartbreak, and disbelief. Kody's mouth opens, but the judge's firm hand stops him. Robyn attempts to reach for him, trying to quell the chaos, but it doesn't work against the emotional deluge surging through the room. Janelle speaks at last, her voice soft but piercing. "We deserve the truth. All of it. No more hiding, no more excuses." Her words linger in the air, heavy with the shared feeling of everyone in the room. Meri nods discreetly, recognizing the potency of her words. The judge shifts back in his chair, pausing for a moment to compose himself. The courtroom is holding its breath, all eyes on the drama playing out. The evidence, the witnesses, and the emotional showdowns have all built into a powder keg, and no one is certain whose spark will set the next explosion. Kody's calm is shaken. His tone is low, verging on desperation. I never intended it to come to this," he grunts, but the burden of Meri's testimony and the watchful eye of the courtroom renders his words empty. Robyn weeps softly at his side, her cries for comprehension drowned by the tempest of accusations and proof. Christine's face darkens with rage, and Janelle's unspoken look is filled with a combination of grief and incredulity. The session temporarily comes to a close, the gavel coming down hard on the wood, ringing out across the room. But the tension continues to reverberate, heavy with unresolved emotion. The gallery buzzes, whispers spreading like a fire across dry leaves as all of them absorb the revelations. The emotional intensity of the session shakes every member of the court to their core, their thoughts and feelings knotted in a skein of betrayal, shock, and heartbreak. Cliffhanger. As the court adjourns for the day, Meri's final words hang in the air like a storm cloud. The truth is far from over. What comes next will test every bond, every loyalty, and every trust in this family. Brace yourselves. The next session will change everything. The courtroom is tense, electric. Each of the individuals present appears to be holding their breath, anticipating what's next. The gleaming wood of the benches catches the bright light pouring through the tall windows, but the light can only serve to accent the lines of tension etched on every face. Kody sits stiff at the defense table, fingers clenched tightly, knuckles white, attempting to hide the turmoil raging inside of him. Robyn's body is tense, shoulders rolled forward, twisting the seams of her sleeve. Christine's elbows rest on the table, her eyes aglow with fury and incredulity. Janelle remains still, fingers folded over her lap, eyes flicking between her family members, overwhelmed by the turmoil before her. The judge, a man of strict resolve and authority, pushes his glasses up the bridge of his nose and looks down at the stack of papers on his desk. "We will now hear the next batch of evidence," he states. His tone holds a measured calm, but there is a silent nod to the serious nature of the situation. Each ear in the room presses in, each eye on Meri. Meri stands up slowly, her face serene but determined. Her gaze passes over the courtroom, pausing briefly on each of the family members. "Your Honor, I have evidence that contradicts testimony given earlier in a direct way. It cannot be disregarded. It uncovers secrets that have been concealed for years." She opens a sealed envelope and slowly eases its contents across the bench. Pictures, text messages, and recordings pour out, one more incriminating than the next. The clerk handles the documents with care, passing them to the judge. He reads them in silence, his hands moving slowly through the pages. The courtroom seems frozen in place, the anticipation almost palpable, weighing down each shoulder in the room. Kody leans forward in a desperate attempt to preserve an air of calm, but the tight jawline and flash of fear in his eyes give him away. Robyn gasps quietly, her hands shaking in her lap. Christine's lips press together, her eyes narrowing, and Janelle bites her lower lip, fighting to absorb the deluge of revelations. Meri starts recounting the evidence, her tone level but heavy with quiet intensity. Every picture, every text message, every taped conversation is carefully spread out before them, the timeline painstakingly recreated. She flags contradiction after contradiction between what Kody had said in public and what the files uncover in private. Every new discovery hits like a blow, leaving no doubt. The gallery murmurs in shock. Even the judge leans forward, his face a mixture of shock and alarm. Kody fidgets in his chair, fists clenching and unclenching, desperate for some sense of control that has long since evaporated. Robyn brushes away a tear, her voice nearly a whisper as she says, "This can't be real." Christine's hands are bunched tightly on the table in front of her, a reflection of her anger and incredulity. Janelle sits transfixed, eyes wide, drowning in the flood of truths battering the family. The evidence begins to reveal hidden decisions Kody made without consulting his family, decisions that affected everyone. Financial choices, personal interactions, and even moments that impacted the children. Meri's voice rises slightly, emphasizing the emotional weight of each revelation. This is not just about facts. It's about trust, integrity, and the consequences of choices made in secrecy. The courtroom is viscerally tense. Every revelation is a spark to a powder keg. Robyn's sobs puncture the silence every now and then, a primal reminder of the human price of these secret truths. Christine's voice slices cold through tension, demanding answers, accusing Kody of disloyalty. Janelle's quiet, quavering voice poses questions softly, but each one slices through the room like a knife. Then Meri plays an audio tape. The room falls silent, all people leaning forward trying to listen. Kody's voice is heard, low and argumentative, contradicting what he said publicly. The tape is irrefutable, with no avenue for tampering or misrepresenting. Robyn exhales a shock gasp, covering her mouth. Christine's eyes open wide, anger burning behind them. Janelle's hands grip her lap tightly, knuckles white, struggling to unite the man she knows with the man exposed in the tape. Meri continues, leading the judge and courtroom through a chain of text messages. One by one, each text message uncovers secret conversations, planning, omissions, and manipulations. One message in particular stands out. A clandestine message between Kody and Robyn, making decisions that left the other wives out of the loop altogether. The room responds immediately. Robyn's eyes well up with tears. Christine bangs her hand gently on the table in exasperation. Janelle remains quietly, lips pursed as though restraining an outburst of her own feelings. The judge glowers, leaning forward in his seat. Mr. Brown, how do you explain these contradictions? His voice is steady but imbues power. Kody mouths to speak, closes his lips, and then says quietly, I did not think it would be harmful. I thought it was necessary. His voice cracks, showing the tension and fear growing inside him. Meri takes advantage of the moment, her quiet but firm voice slicing through the courtroom. Your Honor, the evidence indicates a pattern. A pattern of secrecy, of exclusion, and of decision without openness. This is not just about one act. This is a string of acts which have splintered the family and betrayed them. Christine stands up suddenly, her finger accusatorially aimed at Kody. Do you even realize the harm you've done? To us, to the children, to all we've established. Her words shake with rage and sorrow. Kody tries to answer, but the judge holds up a hand, cutting him off. Robyn goes over, whispering something in Kody's ear, but her voice is broken with emotion and barely heard. The courtroom tension rises to almost breaking point. Each response, tears, gasps, whispers, clenched fists, contributes to the charged air. The gallery is hushed now, observing each movement, listening each moment, well aware that history is being rewritten before their eyes in real time. And then there is the bombshell. Meri brings in a paper that no one was anticipating. A long history that implies that a member of the family has been keeping a life-changing secret for years. The room goes cold. Robyn's hand shoots to her mouth in shock. Christine reclines in shock, her eyes wide. Janelle's hands shake as she mouths a stunned, I can't believe it. The judge studies the document, frowning slightly, clearly stunned. Kody's composure shatters completely, his face pale, eyes darting nervously. The gravity of the situation is impossible to ignore. Every family member feels the weight of the revelation, each processing it differently. Shock, anger, betrayal, sadness, and fear all intertwine in a complex web of emotions. Meri's voice softens, carrying a quiet intensity as she addresses the emotional impact of these revelations. These facts aren't only damaging to the adults. The children have been caught in the middle of lies and deceit. It's time for accountability, for transparency, and for acknowledgement of the damage that actions have inflicted. Kody leans forward in his chair, shoulders dipping a fraction. Robyn blots away additional tears, her voice cracking as she whispers, How did it come to this? Christine scowls, angry, as Janelle says nothing, her eyes moving furiously around the room, drinking in each response, every subtlety. The judge orders a brief recess, the gavel smacking sharply. But the tension does not abate, hanging over the courtroom like an impending storm cloud that will burst at any moment. Onlookers whisper softly, cameras flash, and each family member is well aware that the greatest confrontation lies ahead. The evidence has been stripped bare, the secrets exposed, but what the family will do about it is still unclear. Cliffhanger. The proof has shattered the thin veneer of trust in this family. When the court reconvenes, the emotional showdowns will get fierce, alliances will break apart, and confessions will be revealed. None of them anticipated, none of them secure. The courtroom is tense and still, as if it's holding its breath. All eyes are on the drama unfolding before them, all heartbeats magnified with tension. Kody sits stiff, slightly slumped in his chair, the pressure of the bombshells bearing down on him like a physical weight. Robyn's shoulders are tight, her hands squirming in her lap as tears flow down her face. Christine hunched forward, arms folded tightly around herself, eyes flashing with anger, disbelief, and pain. Janelle sits quietly, hands clasped together, her eyes flicking from family members to family members, her jaw clenched with unspoken frustration and confusion. The gallery holds its collective breath, but for the occasional gasp, the tension in the room nearly tangible. The judge summons the court to order with a resounding gavel rap. We will go on with the proceedings. Let us hear the testimonies and evidence put forth by the plaintiff. His tone is authoritative, slicing through tension, demanding attention. Meri stands, her stance quiet but firm. She looks into the room, into the eyes of each family member in turn. Your Honor, the truth must be heard in all its entirety. What has been kept hidden for too long can no longer stay in the dark. Her tone is unwavering, yet with an intensity behind each statement, a held fire that brings the focus of the courtroom to her alone. Robyn fidgets in her seat, attempting to calm herself down. Her voice shakes as she softly begs Kody, please, can we just stop this? But Meri disregards the request, her eyes unflinching. Christine barks abruptly, Meri, this is destroying the family. Must you go further? The words linger in the air, heavy with emotion, but they are devoured by the weight of evidence on the table. Meri starts to set out a chain of events that has left the family broken and suspicious. She shows a list of choices Kody made without his wife's knowledge, incidents of secrecy that brazenly contradicted earlier claims. Each one falls like a punch. The gallery breathes softly. Robyn puts her hand to her mouth in shock. Christine's fists are bunched and Janelle's eyes are wide, her breath stuck in her throat. The air in the room is charged with tension. Kody fidgets uncomfortably, his jaw clenching with every new discovery. Robyn's lips quiver as she cries openly. Christine's voice breaks as she speaks, her words biting and accusatory. How could you do this to us? To the children? To all of us? Kody's mouth opens to protest, but the judge lifts a hand and he is immediately silent. Meri plays recordings of interviews that reveal duplicity, secret agendas, and manipulation. The courtroom is stilled as Kody's voice comes through the audio, directly contradicting what he has said in public. Robyn gasps, hands shaking. Christine's face reddens with anger, but Janelle stands stock still, drinking in each word. The air is charged so much that it seems it could be sliced by a knife. The judge crouches forward, eyes narrowed, obviously balancing each word, each inflection. Mr. Brown, he remarks, voice steady but strong, how do you account for these inconsistencies? Kody swallows, hesitates. I was trying to keep everyone safe, he stammers, but his tone rings hollow. The room responds instantly. Robyn's weeping grows louder, Christine's head shakes in horror, and Janelle bites her lip hard, fighting back tears. Meri does not flinch. She lays out text messages that document a cycle of exclusion and concealment, demonstrating how Kody's choices circumvented his wife's entirely. The facts paint a portrait of manipulation and broken trust. Each disclosure strikes harder than the previous one, the emotional aftershock resonating within the courtroom. Robyn covers her face with her hands. Christine reclines in her chair, moving her head back and forth in dismay. Janelle leans forward in a low whisper, I can't believe this. The courtroom breaks into pandemonium. Christine gets up suddenly, her finger leveled at Kody. What did you do that for, all of us? The children? Do you have any idea what the actions would bring? Her voice shakes with unadulterated rage and pain. Kody attempts to speak, his words short on breath under the weight of the accusations. Robyn goes to him, trying to soothe him, but they are in vain as feelings get out of hand. Janelle breaks her silence, speaking quietly yet with piercing intensity, slicing through the commotion. We are entitled to the truth, all the truth. No more secrets, no more concealment. Her words hang in the air, echoing for all gathered. The gallery leans forward, holding its collective breath, mesmerized by intensity. The emotional peak has become a fever pitch. Meri goes on, speaking about the children's welfare. Her tone turns melancholic, sad and determined. This isn't about us. The kids have been in the middle, hurt by secrets and manipulations that didn't have to happen. They are entitled to honesty, simplicity, and an opportunity to know the truth. The courtroom falls silent once more, the gravity of her words weighing like a rock on each person's chest. Kody fidgets uncomfortably, his face white. Robyn blots her tears, her lips shaking. Christine's eyes burn red with rage and Janelle's hands shake in her lap. The judge sits back a bit, exhaling deliberately, obviously sensing that the family is on the brink of emotional collapse. Then the next bombshell. Meri shares a document that none of the sisters anticipated. A report proving that a pivotal decision impacting the children was taken without the other wives' knowledge or approval. The room goes into suspension. Robyn gasps openly, clapping her hand over her mouth. Christine reclines, mouth open in shock. Janelle speaks in a shaky whisper. I had no idea. The judge studies the document, frowning, clearly shocked by the revelations. Kody's composure finally crumbles. His hands tremble, his voice faltering. Robyn sobs uncontrollably beside him. Christine stands, fists clenched, shaking with anger. Janelle's eyes fill with tears as she processes the betrayal. The courtroom feels suffocating, every emotion magnified. Gasps, murmurs, and soft cries echo through the chamber. Every person present feels the weight of the moment. The years of secrecy, the betrayals, and the emotional scars laid bare in front of them. Meri's voice softens briefly, a calm counterpoint to the chaos. This is about accountability, truth, and the consequences of choices made in secrecy. The family has been torn apart, but that is a chance for clarity, for honesty, and for healing that can only be achieved through confronting the truth. Kody's shoulders droop, Robyn dabs at fresh tears, Christine's rage barely in check, and Janelle sits stunned, grappling with the sheer magnitude of the revelation. The judge requests a brief recess, the gavel echoing with a loud clank that appears to shake throughout the courtroom, but the tension doesn't let up. The whirlwind of passion, secrets, and deceptions hangs heavy in the air, unresolved, poised to erupt at any instant. The gallery is held in awe, hushed whispers spreading like fire. Cameras record every tear, every look, every muted show of rage, shock, or betrayal. The emotional high has been so intense that even the most detached viewer feels the burden of the courtroom melodrama. As the session draws to a close, Meri's final words hang in the air, chilling and commanding attention. The truth is only beginning to surface. The next session will reveal confessions, confrontations, and decisions that will test the very foundation of this family. Cliffhanger. Alliances are fragmenting, secrets are bursting into the light, and the emotional accounting has only just started. When the courtroom resumes, nothing will be secure. Relationships, trust, and even family ties will be pushed to limits never imagined. The courtroom is heavier than usual as the gallery and family take their seats. The highly polished wood floor, the slight scent of ancient paper, the sunbeam leaving its imprint of shadow, it is all muted, so nearly cowed. Yet the mood is charged, as if storm's darkness waits to burst. Kody hunches over the defense table, fists gripping, jaws strained, eyes roving nervously around the room. Robyn sits next to him, hunched shoulders, dashing away the tears running down her face with each struggle-filled blink. Christine has her elbows on her knees, hands clasped, jaw set hard, eyes burning with rage, incredulity, and grief. Janelle sits in silence, hands clasped in her lap, eyes darting nervously from Kody to Meri and back. Each individual in the courtroom appears to have been holding their breath, anticipating the grand finale to occur. The judge pushes up his glasses and leans forward, a wordless signal that the moment has finally come. We are prepared to render the verdict based on the evidence, testimonies, and documents before us. He starts, his words slow, considered, heavy with gravity. Please stand. The ring of the gavel is sharply heard, cutting through the heavy tension like a knife. Everyone stands, eyes locked on the bench. Meri stands silently, calm but poised, surveying the room, her eyes flashing briefly on each family member. The toll of the past several sessions is written on every face. Fatigue, sorrow, anger, incredulity. The atmosphere is nearly unbearable. Kody's hands shake a little as he places them on the table. Robyn wipes her face once more, attempting to compose herself. Christine's chest rises and falls quickly, struggling only barely to contain the feelings on the verge of bursting out. Janelle is sitting stiffly, her hands clenched on her lap, quiet but obviously preparing for the worst. The judge rattles the papers in front of him, then turns his gaze to Kody. Having examined all evidence submitted, testimonies and supporting documents, it is evident that several instances of secrecy and deception have taken place. These have impacted not only the other parties but also the children and the family as a whole. His gaze roams over the room, resting on every wife, observing their reactions. Kody swallows hard, Adam's apple bobbing uncertainly. He bites his lip, eyes momentarily flashing toward Robyn, then Christine, then Janelle, as if looking for a lifeline, some kind of reprieve. But the judge goes on, unflinching, his voice sharp and steady, though charged with seriousness. The court concludes that Kody Brown's conduct, including decisions he made without seeking consultation and concealing material information, has done substantial emotional harm and harm to the family members. It is the ruling of this court that remedial action, responsibility and recognition of these harms must be taken. An expectant whisper runs through the courtroom. Robyn gasps and covers her mouth. Christine sucks in a harsh breath, head shaking in disbelief, fists clenching. Janelle's eyes go wide, her lips quivering. Kody leans back in his chair, shoulders sagging, the weight of the verdict crushing down on him like a material force. The judge goes on to describe the significance of the ruling. Steps towards restoring transparency, accountability, and emotional support for the parties involved, especially the children. Each word echoes through the room. The courtroom is quiet except for the soft, irregular breathing of those in attendance. All eyes are fixed on Kody, waiting for his response. Kody's voice shatters the quiet, low and reluctant. I never meant to hurt anyone, he says under his breath, voice trembling. Robyn takes his hand, hers quivering as tears keep falling. But Christine does not glance at him. Her eyes are burning, angry and disappointed. Janelle's fingers encircle her lap, knuckles white as she takes in the force of the truth that's been revealed. The room is charged, whispers almost soundless. Cameras click occasionally, freezing every face. The sorrow, the rage, the incredulity. The emotional weight is nearly suffocating. Everyone is acutely aware of the magnitude of the moment, the weeks of disclosure, confrontations, and explosive debates culminating here. Meri stands up, her tone even but strong. Your Honor, although this verdict should bring some clarity, the real work is only just beginning. Healing, responsibility, and restoring trust will take a long time, but at least the truth has been admitted. She looks at each wife, holding her gaze on Robyn, Christine, and Janelle, speaking without words with solidarity and determination. Kody sits with his slumped shoulders, soft voice. Robyn quietly weeps beside him. Christine's gaze is on the judge, but the anger in them hasn't abated. Janelle sits in quiet contemplation, her mind going a mile a minute with what the verdict bodes for the future. The gallery observes, transfixed, some murmuring softly, others simply gazing in shocked silence. Meri collates her papers and sits down, the quiet after the storm. The room is almost dreamlike, the atmosphere charged but balanced by the knowledge that a decision has been made. But the repercussions don't end here. The psychological, relational, and familial repercussions will go on resonating, unseen but deeply felt. The judge stands there, letting the words fall. I hope this family will be able to use this moment to heal, to confront the fallout honestly, and to continue forward with openness and accountability. The court is adjourned. He raps the gavel again. The echo of it rings out, definitive but weighing with consequence. The courtroom comes to life. Onlookers rise, murmuring, looking at one another. Cameras pop, recording tears, clenched fists, and expressions of pain. Kody stands up slowly, Robyn resting somewhat against him, her hands clenched around his. Christine sits back for a moment before slowly standing, her back stiff, jaw clenched. Janelle stands silently, making her way to the door, head cast down, lost in thought, The family spills outside the courtroom, still heavy with the weight of the session. Conversations are muted, strained, each word calculated. Kody talks softly to Robyn, his tone low, almost begging. We can work this out." Robyn slowly nods, though the tears keep falling, a silent admission of the emotional cost. Christine addresses Janelle, her tone gentle but insistent. "We can't ignore this. We need to deal with it, face it head-on." Janelle swallows hard, speech failing her in the midst of such profound emotional disorientation. Meri watches in silence, a combination of relief and fear on her face. The verdict in the courtroom has brought recognition, but the real work, the rebuilding, the facing of remaining secrets and the healing of the heart has only just started. The gallery and media start to leave, whispers following them. Cameras still flash, the subtle emotions, the residual feelings, the silent questions reflected in each family member's eyes. The burden of what has happened stays, dense and unavoidable. As the courtroom is clearing, Kody twists away, low voice, barely a whisper. "This isn't finished. Who will make it through the fallout?" His voice lingers, a cold reminder that the fate of this family is far from sealed. Robyn looks at him, mute, tears streaming. Christine passes him by, unresponsive, eyes straight ahead, determination firming up. Janelle's quiet stride echoes as she heads for the door, mind churning with questions, uncertainties, and hidden fears. Meri collects her papers, standing to take her leave, tranquil mask over the emotional fatigue each step has exacted.